As I drove to work, I couldn't shake off the conversation my wife initiated at dinner the previous night. This wasn't the first time she had brought up the topic, but it seemed to be becoming more frequent. I was puzzled as to why she kept bringing it up, and why it seemed so important to her. She wondered how many women I had been with before we committed to each other, and whether I thought about them or fantasized about them during our intimate moments. The only possible answer to this question was a firm and decisive no. Over the 5 years of our marriage, my wife and I have built a solid foundation based on trust, respect, love, and friendship. Our relationship is everything I ever wanted, a harmonious combination of everything that truly mattered to me. We both have successful careers, a beautiful house in a great neighborhood, and a deep bond that I considered unbreakable. My name is William Harrison, but you can call me Billy. I am lucky that I have both the means and the time to treat myself to vacations and enjoy fine wine, food, and entertainment. My wife Molly and I love exploring new places and enjoying the wonderful things in life. Tall with blonde hair and blue eyes, I am of Nordic descent with an admixture of Irish blood, which can sometimes spur my temper. However, since school, I've learned to control my anger, realizing that words are stronger than fists. I'm proud to be in good shape and take care of myself. As a child, I was always active, playing football and hockey all year round and spending countless hours in the basement lifting weights. Despite my busy schedule, I still find time for jogging, playing in the adult soccer league, and hockey on the pond. My wife Molly has always been naturally attractive, with sparkling eyes, flawless skin, and an attractive smile. She has a charm that endears people to her and encourages them to open up to her on any occasion. Molly is a great listener who always shows her friends and colleagues how much they mean to her by giving them her undivided attention. Molly has a magnetic power that attracts people to her, and her sociability and charm often lead to conversations bordering on flirtation. However, she manages to avoid inappropriate topics despite the attention she attracts due to her attractiveness and lively personality. Molly is tall for a girl, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a figure that turns heads. She is the envy of both men and women, but her most impressive features are her legs and perfectly chiseled hips. She devotes 4 or 5 evenings a week to the gym to maintain their elasticity and tone, finding pleasure and relaxation in training. I often can't resist the urge to touch her when she passes by, and she doesn't seem to mind. When I think about it, Molly's personality seems perfect, especially for me. There's only one small flaw because of which we periodically quarrel. Emotionally, Molly rarely brings a situation to an argument, but as a rule, she's adamant when she decides something. She firmly believes in her opinion, especially in matters that are not easy to back up with facts or clear evidence. This often leads to stubbornness on her part, making it difficult for me to convince her once the decision is made. We both tied the knot shortly after graduating from college, having been in an ongoing relationship for the last 2 years of university. It's safe to say that before we got married, Molly didn't have many different sexual partners. However, in high school and the following summer, as well as the first 2 years of college, I had a wild streak. I wanted to sleep with as many women as possible. At the age of 19, I was lucky enough to become one of the first intimate partners of an elderly divorced woman. She was experienced and passionate in the pleasures of love, and taught me valuable lessons on how to please a woman and help her reach climax. Her guidance helped me prioritize my partner's satisfaction, ensuring that I would only get my own pleasure after I made sure she was completely satisfied. Molly asked about my ability to satisfy her, and I explained this with valuable lessons learned in past relationships. Although she appreciated my skills, she couldn't help but envy the variety of partners and experiences I had in my career. I worked as a mechanical engineer at Abbott Labs, where I enjoyed working on the design and testing of injection molded parts for medical devices such as ventilators, infusion pumps, and respirators. This job was both challenging and rewarding, providing me with a comfortable income and enough free time to pursue my hobbies. I am currently restoring a Winnebago B-Class van, and Molly and I plan to use it for week-long trips along the northern shore of Lake Superior in Minnesota, as well as to the mountains and the ocean. The possibilities for adventure are endless. Molly, a chartered accountant, holds a prestigious position in one of the 5 leading national accounting and consulting firms. Her job provides a comfortable salary, an acceptable level of stress, and the possibility of periodic business trips. Her responsibilities include accompanying junior accountants at the company's audits to ensure that they conduct a thorough assessment and comply with the company's standards for customer service and reporting. Over the past month, Molly has traveled several times on business trips with a new colleague named Nick. After graduating from high school, he went on a 3-year journey to become a financial controller. After their first trip, Molly initially praised Nick as a hot, confident, and sociable character, but then became silent about him. As I devoted more and more time to my project, my anticipation of traveling with Molly grew. However, I couldn't shake off the feeling that she wasn't as passionate as I was, and that bothered me. After a few short trips, I realized that eventually Molly would start to enjoy them. I also noticed that Molly's behavior towards me had changed a little. She seemed less cheerful, sociable, and companionable. Despite this, our intimate relationship remained strong, and there were times when Molly came home late from work and passionately offered to make love. The last time this happened, I noticed that her desire level was high, and it was clear that something was turning her on. After making passionate love at the end of a long day at work, I went downstairs to start cooking dinner while Molly took a shower. While I was cooking, I had a feeling that something was wrong between us. Meanwhile, Molly was relaxing under the jets of hot water, enjoying the aftertaste of our intimate moment. However, underneath her contentment was a sense of guilt and worry. She couldn't get rid of the memories of the recent happy hours spent with her colleague Nick. Lately, he had been trying to persuade her to go out to dinner and dance. She was well aware that she was crossing a line that she shouldn't have crossed, especially since their conversations were becoming more and more flirtatious and inappropriate for a married woman. However, she couldn't deny that she was fixated on this forbidden relationship and the excitement of intimacy with another man. She recognized her strong physical attraction to him and had already made a mental decision to enter into an intimate relationship with him. She told herself that she deserved it and needed to get this obsession out of her head and focus on her marriage. Molly reflected that Billy had many intimate partners before they started living together, but she knew he would never cheat on her. She would never cheat on him either, but she had made the decision to spend the weekend with Andrew. She needed to figure out how to talk to Billy about this. She loved him and would never want to hurt him, so she decided to be honest with him. It was just a one-time affair, and it was important for her to solve this problem and move forward in her marriage. Molly continued to reflect that if Billy really loved her as much as he thought he did, he would be open to this conversation, and together they would be able to overcome any difficulties, becoming even stronger than before. She couldn't lose this hope, although some part of her was afraid that this might just be wishful thinking. Determined, I waited for Molly to join me in the kitchen, where I was making shrimp salad, cornbread, and pouring wine into glasses. Taking a deep breath, she finally spoke. "We need to discuss something important, Billy. Please let's be honest with each other. I love you, and I know that you love me. Let's go through this together." Molly's words sounded a little ominous, and I couldn't help but wonder how many relationships had changed for the worse after hearing those words. "Don't worry, Billy. There's nothing wrong with that. This is something that will benefit both of us," she continued. "I don't know how to put it into words, but it seems to me that something is wrong between us lately. You haven't been as affectionate and open with me as usual." Molly began her reflections. "Have you forgotten about the passionate love we just shared?" I asked in disbelief. "Billy, that's not what I meant," she replied, puzzled. "But since you're talking about it, what made you want me so badly that you practically tore off my clothes?" I asked jokingly. Molly's demeanor quickly changed, and there were notes of protection and guilt in her expression. "Billy, if you don't like that I love you so passionately, then maybe that's more your problem than mine," she replied defensively. I immediately caught her defensive stance and contradicted her, noticing the notes of worry and guilt in her eyes. "Can't you see? Can't you tell me what's really going on? Do I have a reason to worry about you?" I asked. Molly felt a pain of guilt as she realized that the conversation had gone the wrong way. She knew she needed to pull herself together to have a productive conversation with Billy. "Billy, I'm really sorry. That's not what I wanted to say. I need to tell you what's going on. I want you to remember that I love you and our life together more than anything in the world. Our relationship is very dear to me, and I am deeply in love with you," Molly began. "Please keep in mind, Molly, that you are causing me great concern. Are you romantically involved with someone else? Are you unfaithful to me?" I started to move forward. "Billy, how could you even imagine such a thing? You know that I will never betray your trust. I appreciate and respect you too much, but I need to have a serious talk with you. I'm asking you to listen to me and really hear what I want to say. When I'm done, feel free to ask any questions, and we can discuss them further. My love, I want to emphasize once again that I am devoted to you and only to you. I imagine a future with you, children together, old age together, and I will always be by your side as your wife," Molly said. "I have something difficult to tell you, so please listen carefully. Do you remember when I mentioned Nick, my colleague with whom we traveled together? Well, I also had lunch and met with him, and had dinner. I know this may seem suspicious, but I want to assure you that this is not an affair or cheating. I may have crossed the line by not telling you how I spend time with him, but I promise there's nothing wrong with my intentions," she said. "Maybe I don't feel love for him, but our communication was filled with flirting and meaningful hints. It all seemed a little cheeky but harmless. That was until he confessed that he wanted intimacy with me. He is 7 years younger than me, incredibly attractive, and in great shape, and I found myself inexplicably attracted to him," Molly confessed in a fit of anger. I asked myself a question. Had she given up her current relationship for him? Did she feel love for him? Had she already cheated on me, and was this her way of telling me the truth? Molly flinched at her words, realizing that they didn't convey what she really meant. "Billy, I want you to know that I haven't been intimate with anyone, including Nick. It was difficult for me, but you have to understand that my love is only for you. Nick is just a young guy. I have no chance of falling in love with him. I had limited sexual experience before we met, and sometimes I feel like I missed the opportunity to explore everything before we became a couple. I wish I had a chance to try something new, like you did before we fell in love. It's hard to get rid of the idea that this young man I'm attracted to wants to make love to me. Nick and I were flirting at work today, and therefore, when I came home, I felt incredibly passionate and needed your love," Molly admitted. My heart started pounding, and my face turned red as I realized the consequences of what Molly had just said. She quickly tried to back away, saying, "Billy, that's not what I meant. I love you deeply, and being close to you is not just a physical pleasure. It's the most enjoyable connection I've ever had. But I can't get rid of the attraction to another man. I made the decision to enter into an intimate relationship with him because I see this as the last opportunity before we start building a future together with children, a career, and so on. I think I deserve this experience, and I ask for your understanding and permission. I want to assure you right away that I have never cheated on you, and will not cheat on you, and my respect for you remains unshakable," Molly said. "That's why I'm asking you to let me do this. I also inform you that I have already made a decision," she said. Molly was shocked to see me hunched over in my chair, tears welling up in my eyes and running down my cheeks. That's not how she imagined it. It was supposed to be just a physical meeting, disposable. It shouldn't have made any difference. She needed to convince me. "Billy, I only love you. You are the one I want to be with, grow old with. It's a purely physical connection. It's not love," she chirped. Molly begged me, trying to justify her quest to get intimate sensations. She promised to atone for the rest of her life if only I would give her that indulgence. She swore that she would never change and stressed that this was just a manifestation of her love for me. When I got up from the table, the hurt and anger in my eyes scared Molly. I hoped she would realize the damage her words had done to our marriage and relationship. How could she regard my acceptance of this request as an indicator of my love for her? It was complete nonsense. I thought, "Molly, I see right through you. It's all a shame. I know what's really going on. You've already betrayed me by having an emotional affair with someone from work. You shared intimate details about us and our marriage with this man, went on dates, drank, and who knows what else. For me, this is already a betrayal. Are you telling me that you haven't moved on to the next level and slept with him yet, and now you think you can make amends by offering more love to me, spending time with me, and showering me with caresses? This is not love but manipulation," I shouted. "Billy, please stop. This is not a novel. No, I didn't sleep with him, but I admit that I kissed him several times after lunch. Maybe it was because of the alcohol, but I have to admit that the excitement of a new person ignited something in me. It will be a one-time intimate relationship, not an affair. I will never have feelings for him. I will always love only you. But I feel like I need it, and if you really love me the way I think you would understand." "Billy, this is just an affair, not love," she pleaded. "I can't get rid of this feeling, although maybe it doesn't matter at all. I don't know what to do next, but I promise to fix everything," she continued. "Molly, I'm shocked that you even asked me this question. You've already hurt me by getting into an emotional relationship with another person. You betrayed me by discussing intimate details and physical interactions with him. The fact that you kissed him looks like the same deception as if you slept with him," I replied indignantly. "Now I realize how stupid I was," Molly said. "I believe that your love for me was as deep as mine for you, but I could never bring myself to hurt you the way you hurt me. I don't even know if you realize how much damage you've done to our relationship and marriage," I said angrily. "Billy, please stop being dramatic. I love you and only you. You can trust me, and that's why I have to be honest with you. It shouldn't hurt you because this is about me, not you. It was just a senseless mistake," she replied. "All right, Molly, maybe I'll find some pointless fling too, and then you can figure out if you believe in this nonsense," I replied. I got up, took the keys, and headed for the door. "Billy, come back and grow up," Molly exclaimed. "This is not a mistake. It will help me become a better person and give you more love and attention than ever before. Is sleeping with someone who is not your husband going to make you a better person?" "You're crazy, Molly," I replied. "I can't believe you really think that's true. I'll never be able to just brush it off. If you keep this up, our relationship is over. Do you understand that?" I asked bitterly. Tears welled up in my eyes as I rushed to the door, got into the car, and drove out of the driveway before Molly could reach me and call out, "Billy, please don't leave. Let me prove how much I love you. We can handle this together and make it better for both of us." I looked at her with a mixture of sadness and suffering, tears streaming down my face, and drove off into the darkness of the night. It will do me good, I thought to myself. Unbelievable. What am I going to do now? Molly sat in shock, feeling depressed and anxious. How could I have screwed up like that? Why can't he understand how important this is to me, and that it won't hurt our love and relationship? She thought. But she couldn't ignore the truth. It had already happened. They had never fought like this before, and Billy had never left her. She had always been sure of her love for him, but now doubts about his feelings for her crept into her soul. Reluctantly, she acknowledged the possibility that she had irreparably damaged their relationship. Despite this, she was already making plans for the weekend with Nick. They were going to have brunch, spend the day at the hotel, and indulge in passionate intimacy. The evening would be filled with dinner, dancing, and even more intimate moments. She hoped that the weekend would be full of love and connection. Despite the fact that she was tormented by doubts, she intended to indulge in as close a relationship with him as possible before returning home on Sunday evening and fully dedicating herself to marriage and Billy. She was sure that eventually he would forgive her. She admitted that he was in pain right now, and that she hadn't explained everything to him properly. She thought it was unfair of him to assume that she was already having an affair, and to get so upset about her needs and desires. Her decision was final, and she was sure that Billy would eventually come to terms with it, which would allow them to strengthen their relationship and move forward together towards a brighter future. 2 hours later, when she hadn't heard from Billy, her anxiety increased. She knew he wasn't in the best of moods when he left. She was sure that he would contact her so that they could reconcile and return home to be together and show their love for each other. But as time passed and there was no call or message from him, she decided to contact him. When he didn't respond, she left a voicemail expressing her regrets. Billy, I'm sorry that everything happened like this and that you're suffering. Please know that I love you, and I only want to be with you. Let's go through this together. It was not only about their relationship, but also about their love and future together. An hour later, she left Billy a new voice message. I'm talking to you. Let's put everything in the past and work on a relationship. Please try to understand and come back to me. Getting ready for bed, she checked her phone again, but Billy still wasn't answering. She lay down on the bed and eventually fell into a restless sleep with tears in her eyes. I went to the Hilton next door and rented a room for the night. After spending an unacceptable amount of time in the hotel bar, I drank a lot before collapsing into bed, ignoring the calls and voice messages from Molly. I tried to drown out the pain that was consuming me. I still couldn't get over the shock and disbelief at her audacity when she considered it acceptable to confess her love to me and, at the same time, insisted on betraying our marriage vow. I was all too familiar with her stubborn nature, but it was a line that could not be crossed without consequences. It was a mistake that could have ended our marriage, and I knew I had to make her realize the seriousness of my actions before it was too late. But deep down, I couldn't get rid of the fear that maybe it was too late. Even if I managed to convince her this time, how could I be sure that she wouldn't act behind my back and repeat the same betrayal in the future? If I had allowed her to cheat on me, it would undoubtedly have destroyed trust and respect in our marriage. I knew that if I let her do this, my feelings for her would never be the same. If I had agreed, how long would it have been before she would have found another man? Wouldn't she end up resenting me for not standing up and insisting that she belonged only to me? It seemed that there were no positive options, and I began to fear that this was just the beginning of the fall. After much thought, I came to the conclusion that the best course of action would be to convince her to change her mind and join me in therapy to understand the reasons for her desire to have an intimate relationship with someone else. The following Wednesday morning, Molly woke up and reached out to hug Billy. Shocked to find that he was not in bed with her, she searched the whole house, checked the guest bedroom and the sofa, but realized that his car was not there, which meant he did not return home. This discovery made her very upset. After checking her phone and finding no new messages or voicemail, she decided to call him, but he didn't answer the phone. When she was about to hang up, a text notification appeared on her screen. It was from him. "Molly, I'll be home at 7 o'clock today. Please eat before I come. We need to have a serious conversation about our future together." Molly wrote, rolled her eyes at Billy's dramatic message. Initially annoyed, she soon felt anxious. Was he hinting that they didn't have a future together? The thought haunted her, causing a mixture of disappointment and anxiety. She never wanted this to happen. She loved him and wanted only one thing: to be with him. Why couldn't he understand that? Tonight, she would have to make him understand. When she was sitting at her desk at work, Nick approached her with his usual charm. "Good morning, pretty girl," he said. "You look good enough to kiss and cuddle. I hope we still have everything ahead of us this Saturday. Did you tell your husband? Should I be worried?" Molly sighed. "Nick, let me deal with Billy. Maybe he doesn't quite agree with this idea, but it won't cause any problems. Yes, everything remains in force. Our plans for Saturday remain in force, and I can't help but be happy about it," she said. Despite this, when he walked away from her desk, Molly couldn't resist sending Billy another message. She expressed her love and assured him of her commitment to their future together. An hour passed before she received a short, sarcastic reply from Billy. "Yes, of course." Molly felt anger and sadness at Billy's immature behavior and the pain he was causing them both. She was sure she could fix it. She believed that thanks to her love and attention, their relationship would improve and become even better than before. On Wednesday, as soon as Molly left, I returned to the house, collected my tools, and completed the remaining work on repairing the van. I successfully installed a solar panel, completed all electrical and Wi-Fi connections, and replaced the cassette in the toilet. I filled the tanks with water and felt that by Thursday, I would be able to finishing the cabin and prepare the car for the journey. Working on the project helped me take my mind off the constant pain and sadness. Molly was only 2 hours away from returning, and I spent some time browsing the internet for information about divorce finances and consultants, making an approximate plan of action for the future. After making a list of things important to me, I hurried to the bank before Molly returned. I took the initiative and canceled our shared credit card, opening it in my name only. I also closed our joint checking account and opened one exclusively in my name, using funds from our share account. I made an advance payment on the mortgage for the house for the next 2 months. Then, I divided the remaining amount, of which 50% went to her by check, and the remaining 50% was transferred to my savings account. Having dealt with these financial issues, I treated myself to a beer and a hamburger at my favorite pub and then prepared for a conversation at home. When Molly arrived around 6 o'clock in the evening, she noticed that Billy was still not at home and didn't know if he was at home at all. After eating the sandwich, she thought about how to approach Billy from a more positive side this time. As soon as Billy entered the house, she rushed to him, kissed him on the lips, and hugged him tightly. She scolded him for leaving without saying a word and expressed her concern and desire to know that he was safe. "Billy, please don't ever disappear like that again without letting me know you're okay. I love only you, and I will always love only you. You don't have to go through the pain alone. Billy, I'm right next to you. I thought that we were united and would always be united, but now I'm not sure about that. A week ago, I never imagined that you could ask me to approve of your extramarital affair and then expect us to continue living as if nothing had changed. It's hard to believe that you can claim that you love me and want us to stay together, and, at the same time, ask for permission to cheat. She said wearily. Billy, please don't try to tell me that I don't love you. Molly said, tears in her eyes. It's not cheating if we both agree to it, and it's just a one-time affair. Stop reacting and acting so immaturely, she protested. Molly, if you want to talk about drama and immaturity, look at yourself. I see a woman I once loved, but now it seems to me that someone or something unfamiliar has taken possession of her. She's trying to convince me that she loves me, but at the same time, she wants to have an affair with another man for the weekend and then go back to what it was before. But I know it's impossible. We will never be able to become the couple we were before, I replied. How would you feel, Molly, if I went and slept with someone else and then told you it was just an affair? I asked. It's not fair, and you know it, Billy. You've had a lot of women and sexual encounters in the past, and I haven't had any. If you had done that, I would have kicked you out, and I'm not sure I could have forgiven you, she said, stunned. So why should it be different with me? Why don't I kick you out, and why do you think I can forgive you? I said sarcastically. Tears welled up in Molly's eyes, and she said, Billy, I can't imagine life without you. I have strong feelings for you, and I always want to be with you. But let's be honest, Molly. Your offer is not sincere. Have you already agreed to this? Have you assured your partner that you will sleep with him? I asked. Billy, why are you distorting the situation? He's not my partner. He's just a one-night stand. I talked to him, and we have plans for this weekend. But on Monday, I will show you a whole new level of passion, Molly assured. You've always been the best wife a man could count on. You've been like this before, and you'll stay like this if you don't go for it, I said, choking on these words. Molly retreated into the kitchen with a sinking heart and sank into a chair. She looked at me with despair in her voice and eyes, begging me to understand her. Billy, please believe me when I say that I love you more than anything in the world. Please don't let this decision come between us. Our partnership, our marriage, you were my husband, my lover, my best friend, the one with whom I want to share my life and create a family. You mean everything to me. Please don't let this separate us, she begged. Molly, you just can't figure it out, but I promise that I will try to understand and go through everything with you, I said, holding out my hand to her. If all this were true, you would never have told me about your plans for Saturday. This conversation will lead to nothing if you keep going. It's over between us. I'll be back Friday night, I said. Let's spend this night together, make love, and cherish each other while we still can. Billy, please don't leave me anymore. We have to deal with this. Please, she begged. Friday night, Molly. I'll bring dinner around 7 o'clock in the evening, I replied. Nick will pick me up on Saturday morning. I'll tell him to pick me up at 11 o'clock in the morning. I want you to meet him, she said with urgency. Jesus, Molly, are you really going to meet him? If I see him, I swear I'll beat the crap out of him. He's a jerk who's ruining our marriage. Think carefully before we meet on Friday, I warned. Billy, please don't leave like that. Just tell me that you're okay, that this won't separate us, she begged. Molly, I will never be able to accept that you have an intimate relationship with someone other than me. If you want to be with someone else, then get divorced and get your way with any man in the world. I won't stand in your way. But I want you to understand that your request caused more pain than you think. I have one condition under which we can move on. If you stop this affair completely, break off your relationship with him, and agree to attend counseling with me to work on a relationship, then maybe we can keep what we have. If not, then I know it's over between us. Please think carefully about your decision, and give me an answer by Friday evening, I replied adamantly. Billy, please don't give ultimatums, and don't leave me. Let's solve everything together, Molly persisted. Yes, right, God, you never cease to amaze me. I grumbled with sarcasm in my voice. I left the room and headed back to the Hilton to get a room for the night. From Wednesday to Thursday, after that, I dialed my boss's number and referred to family circumstances, as a result of which he reluctantly gave me a day off until the end of the week. Despite his curiosity, I refused to reveal the details of my situation. Meanwhile, Molly was leaning on the table with her head in her hands, depressed by Billy's departure. She couldn't understand why he was so stubborn about the situation, despite the certainty that he would never leave her. She couldn't shake the feeling that their relationship had already been seriously damaged. With the continuation of her plans, it would only make the situation worse. And yet, she was determined to be with Nick, consumed by a desire to be with him that she couldn't ignore. In the end, she decided to compromise with Billy, agreeing to spend the weekend with Nick, but at the same time agreeing to attend a marriage counseling session with whoever Billy chooses. After that, she reached the bed, feeling the weight of guilt and regret. While she was lying in bed, a whirlwind of thoughts was spinning in her head. Billy was everything to her, and yet she offended and angered him. The weight of it all seemed unbearable. Did she really want this? She felt trapped, unable to free herself from the choices she had made. She told herself that she needed it, that Billy's arguments were groundless. In the past, he had sought solace in other women, and she had remained faithful. It was just a physical act, nothing more. He needed to let go of his ego and move on. After Molly left for work on Thursday, I went back inside and started packing up the things I wanted to take with me to the van to make sure there were the things she wouldn't miss. I went to the store to donate clothes that I had never worn and that I would not need. I moved tools, sports equipment, and recreational items that I didn't have room for to my best friend Tom's house. I also gave him some pen and ink drawings that my uncle had made. I was sure Tom would understand me. We sat down at the table, had a drink, and I talked about my situation and what choice I had. Tom's face showed disbelief as he exclaimed, "Billy, you've got to be kidding. Molly would never betray you like that. She's head over heels in love with you." He questioned my decision, suggesting that perhaps there was some reason for her behavior, such as a head injury. Feeling lost and confused, I confessed, "I no longer know what is real and what is not. I don't know what to do at all." In 1 week, my whole world collapsed, and it was like I stopped recognizing Molly. I can't understand it. The love I once had for her is being tested, diminishing with each of her lame excuses for why it would somehow benefit our marriage. She's acting irrationally. I informed Tom. "Can't we just forget about it? Maybe you should go to a therapist and move on," he asked. "No way." I made it clear to her that we would get through this if she didn't betray me. But if she did, then I don't see a way to fix the situation. I begged her to change her mind, but it seems to be useless. I will try my best to give her an unforgettable and amazing Friday night in the hope that she will finally listen to reason. This is my last attempt to save our relationship," I said. "Good luck. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to support you during this difficult time. Perhaps I can ease your pain and offer my help in some other way. It breaks my heart that you two are fighting like this. You were my inspiration for a strong and healthy marriage, and now it seems that both of our ideals have been shattered," he said. "I never imagined that this would happen to us," I said sadly. "I'm trying my best not to give in to the urge to engage in a physical fight with him," I added. "But Billy, if the situation escalates and you need help to get back at him, just warn me, and I'll come to the rescue. Take your time, think about it. Stay safe, my friend," Tom said. "Oh, and I have a new phone and number. I'll text you the details so we can stay in touch," I said. "Hold on, buddy," he said. "See you later, brother." After that, I went to the Verizon store, bought a new phone and number, and changed our data plan to a data plan in Molly's name only. Finally, I went home. I did the first test drive of a van and was satisfied with its performance. After finishing the interior, getting new license plates and insurance, I was ready to hit the road. I cleared my home computer of all personal emails and documents, essentially wiping out all remnants of my past life. I sent emails to our family, friends, relatives, and colleagues to inform them of Molly's decision and my reaction. If I hadn't been able to convince her, I would have told them that she had decided to go on a new adventure. She could have justified herself by saying that it was just an extramarital affair. She asked for my consent, and even though I begged her not to do it and warned her that it would ruin our marriage, she went for it anyway. I hoped that I would never have to send this letter. But in case the situation escalated, I wanted people to know the truth about what happened. As proof, I also attached a voice recording of me repping me that evening. I met with a divorce lawyer on Friday and was advised that since our incomes are the same and we don't have children, the process is likely to be simple. It was assumed that the division of property and a divorce would be equal. The only point of contention was whether my account, which had more than $200,000 in deferred tax into which I had made significant contributions, would be included in this section. My ex-wife was a participant in a defined benefit pension plan, which further complicated the situation. In the end, I decided that I had earned this money through hard work and did not want to risk losing half of it because of a woman who cheated on me. Therefore, I decided to take a 40% tax hit and withdraw the money before the divorce process affects my retirement savings. I decided to wait until the weekend, still holding out hope that I would be able to convince Molly to come out of this ongoing nightmare. As Friday approached, I felt that our entire future, our marriage, and my feelings for her were solely in Molly's hands. I could only hope and pray that she would make the right decision. On the way home, I bought shrimp, swordfish, and Caesar salad. Then I lit the grill. I made a couple of bottles of white wine, filled the fridge with ice, mixed gin and tonic, and was looking forward to Molly's return from work. She was thrilled when she came into the kitchen and saw that I was cooking. "Thank God you're home, Billy. I've missed you so much, and I hate it when you're not with me. Promise me you won't do this anymore. You love me. I love you. We should be together," she said with a smile. She came up to me, and I felt surprised and delighted when I hugged her and kissed her with a deep, gentle kiss. "Molly, why don't you go freshen up and put on something attractive? Bring a glass of wine with you to start this celebration. As soon as you come down, I'll start grilling, and we can enjoy a wonderful dinner together. Let's focus on celebrating our marriage today instead of talking about how this might be our last dinner," I said. "It upsets me that you doubt our relationship. I've assured you countless times that I only love you," Molly said with a frown. "This is something I have to deal with on my own. You have nothing to do with it. Let's put this conversation on hold for now," Molly insisted. "First, let's take a shower with wine together, and then eat and move on to the most interesting part of our evening," I said mischievously. "Mister, I hope that you will stay with me tonight and not leave me upset or worried about you. I'll be back soon in an outfit that will show how much I love and cherish you," she said playfully. Molly went upstairs to take a shower, and when she returned, I was blown away by her stunning French outfit complete with a little white beanie. Molly was wearing a tight white blouse with a low slit exposing most of her assets in the middle part of her body. She was wearing a thigh-length black silk skirt, a short skirt that barely covered the top of her panties, and stiletto heels. "Wow, Molly, you look incredibly seductive and just stunning. I can't wait for you to see the other outfits I've planned for the next few weeks of our life together," she said. "But first, let's cook the food on the grill. I'm hungry, but I'm even more impatient to get to dessert." I said with a playful wink. She demonstrated her desire. Dinner was eaten in a hurry. Glasses of gin and tonic were emptied, and most of the first bottle of wine was drunk. Unable to contain my passion any longer, I picked her up in my arms, climbed the stairs, and carefully laid her on the bed. When she reached for my belt and zipper, I stopped her impulse. "Today, everything will depend on you, Molly," I announced. "I want to cherish every inch of your body and create memories of our love that will last a lifetime. I want you to truly understand the magic we share and why we are destined to be together. You are mine, and I am yours, my love. Please make love to me tonight. Let's get rid of the stress of the last few days and strengthen our love for each other," I whispered passionately. That night, we shared a passionate moment. After that, she admired how contented and satisfied she felt before falling asleep. When Molly woke up at 8:30 in the morning, she realized that it was time to get up and prepare for a new day. Nick was supposed to pick her up at 11 o'clock in the morning, and it made her feel guilty, anxious, and sad. After their passionate lovemaking the night before, she had not long doubted the correctness of her choice. How could anything compare to what they shared? But despite her doubts, she was determined to see it through. When she heard him fussing in the kitchen, the smell of bacon, scrambled eggs, and coffee wafting through the house, she put on a bathrobe and went downstairs. "Last night was amazing, Billy. I see a future with you filled with such moments," she said as she entered the kitchen. "I love you very much, and I'm grateful for last night." He didn't answer right away, concentrating on making scrambled eggs. Finally, he turned to her and asked if she wanted something to eat. "I think I can do without food, Billy, but thanks anyway. I have breakfast scheduled for 11 o'clock in the morning with Nick, so I want to keep my appetite for it. I need to freshen up and get ready quickly. Can you stay here so we can say goodbye, hug, and kiss before the weekend?" she said tensely. "Molly, I'm not going to beg you anymore. I just want to ask you one last time. Are you absolutely sure that you can make love to someone who is not your husband?" I said, giving up cooking breakfast. "Billy, please stop it. It's just one time. It won't change how I feel about you," Molly replied, looking into her eyes full of pain and sadness. I vowed not to leave until I said goodbye to her. Molly's heart sank at the sight of my agony and the finality of my words. It was like saying goodbye, like closing, and she couldn't help but shudder at the thought. But I calmed her down by confessing my love for her. She promised that everything would be fine, that this pain would pass soon. She reminded me that we were destined to be together forever. Despite her encouraging words, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by sadness. How could she be so confident when I was drowning in doubt and despair? She blushed at my remark, tears welling up in her eyes, and she hurriedly headed to the bathroom. Why is he always so dramatic? Couldn't he just let her enjoy this one fling and move on? She thought. She was grateful for the opportunity and vowed to spend the rest of her days making amends to him. The experience had clearly affected Billy, and she knew she would have to work hard to ease his pain. But she was sure that in the end, he would come to his senses because he loved her deeply and always took care of her. This time, it will be different, she thought. She took a quick shower and applied makeup, choosing a dress that was both attractive and sophisticated combined with thigh stockings and high-heeled shoes. She tried to look her best. When she came down with her bag, she realized that it was 10:30 in the morning, and time was running out. When I saw that she was dressed to meet another man, it was like a dagger in my heart. Billy, are you okay? You know how much I love you, don't you? And you love me too, don't you? Didn't last night show you that we can overcome this and continue to live together? Molly's words echoed in my mind. Last night was supposed to be a special celebration of our marriage, a memory that we could carry with us for the rest of our lives, I said sadly. But Billy, Please don't call her our last night together. It's unfair to try to make me feel guilty for seeking solace in a moment of passion. We will get through this and become stronger than ever," she replied hopefully. When she moved in to kiss me, I held her gently to me, looking into her eyes and comforting her. "Molly, our evening has come to an end. You chose a casual weekend fling over your marriage. Those kisses don't matter anymore," I whispered softly. "Billy, please stop it. It's not what you think. This is the only case, and I deserve it. You've had a lot of women in the past that you can fantasize about, but I don't have anything. I have a strong physical desire to have an intimate relationship with this person and move on. It doesn't mean love. It won't affect our relationship or my love for you," she screamed. "Yes, Molly, it's just a one-time thing," I confirmed before Molly could answer. She was interrupted by the sound of a car pulling up to the entrance and a horn honking. "Billy, you need to stop all this drama," she said irritably. "I will be back on Sunday evening, and you will still be my one and only lover, my life partner." The beep sounded again, and Molly suggested, "Maybe I should let Nick in and introduce him to you. Maybe then you'll realize that he's just an attractive guy, not a threat to our relationship." I felt a surge of pain and anger but managed to keep my voice calm and answered, "Don't you dare let him in here, or I'll break his nose." Her eyes widened as he clenched his jaw and clenched his fists, saying that he would cause unimaginable pain to someone. Molly recoiled in horror, her heart pounding in her chest. This was not the man she knew, not the gentle soul she had fallen in love with. "Billy, please," she begged, her voice trembling with fear. "Leave it alone, please. Let me deal with this, and I promise I'll come home to you safe and sound. We can get through this together." She held out a trembling hand to him, desperately trying to calm the storm raging inside him. She prayed that he would listen to her, that his actions would be guided by reason and love, not cruelty and rage. Billy's eyes met hers, and for a moment, there was understanding and remorse in his gaze. She held her breath, hoping that he would choose love over hate, forgiveness over revenge. She grabbed her bag, headed for the door, and stopped to smile at me. But the suffering and despair written on my face caused her to have a sudden surge of fear and guilt. Despite this, she smiled bravely, kissed me, and assured me that from Sunday evening onwards, she would be the perfect wife and partner I had always hoped for. With a final declaration of love, she said goodbye to me. "Goodbye, dear." I waved weakly goodbye to her as she left, sitting on the kitchen chair. I was trying to come to terms with her leaving, and tears were streaming down my face. I tried my best to end the extramarital affair that threatened to destroy our marriage, but Molly seemed to be living in her own world, convinced that this was what she needed to be happy. After crying for what seemed like an eternity, I finally got up and started packing my things into the van, starting in the bedroom. I noticed Molly's wedding rings left on the coffee table, feeling a mixture of sadness and anger. I put them in my pocket, deciding to forget about this painful chapter in our lives. 2 hours later, I packed up all the most expensive things. The paintings, sketches, and sculptures given to me by my late uncle were carefully packed, put in boxes, and stored under the double bed of the van. My initial choice of clothes turned out to be too big, so I quickly revised it and threw everything I didn't need into the trash can in the garage. As I wandered around the house, anger and sadness raged in me. My gaze fell on a wedding album filled with 40 photos from our wedding day 5 years ago. It had once been a source of joy and tranquility, but now it only evoked painful memories. Then, pouring tears over the paper, I sat down at the table and wrote my last letter to Molly. Finally, it was finished. I put the letter and the check for Molly from our shared savings and checking accounts in an envelope, not forgetting to write her name on the outside. After putting the photo album and the letter on the kitchen table, I took off my wedding ring and put it on top of the letter with a heavy heart. I prepared to send a letter to all our friends, relatives, and acquaintances, scheduling it to be sent at 9 a.m. on Monday. I wouldn't be home by then. After leaving the door, I climbed into my van and drove away from my old life. By the middle of Saturday afternoon, Molly and Nick had already had brunch and checked into the hotel that Nick had booked for the weekend. He hoped to persuade Molly to stay on both Saturday and Sunday, wanting to prolong the time they spent together and avoid the terrible Sunday lights out. When they undressed and got into bed, Molly couldn't help but feel a surge of delight at the sight of another man completely naked and wanting her. Nick wasted no time and started physical intimacy, but Molly gently asked him not to rush, reminding him to relax and take his time. Today and tomorrow, we have a lot of time to enjoy each other. Maybe I can help you relax and keep warm, Molly suggested. I'm not very comfortable doing this, Molly, and I find it a little annoying. Let me take care of you, Nick said irritably. With these words, he gave her pleasure for several minutes, although it was not exactly what she dreamed of. He quickly moved into intimacy and began to move vigorously. After a couple of minutes, he announced that he was about to reach a climax and called on Molly to join him. When it was over, he leaned back and lay down on the bed. Molly lay there, unable to believe what had just happened. She was far from climaxing and even felt almost no desire. Nick hurriedly got up and rushed to the bathroom, saying that he needed to clean himself up and then bring her a washcloth. Turning away from the bathroom, Molly couldn't help but think about her actions and how much pain she had caused Billy because of something that turned out to be more insignificant than she could have imagined. Grabbing her cell phone from the bedside table, she quickly texted Billy. I want you to know that my love is only for you. Please assure me that you're okay and that you feel the same way about me. I'm looking forward to our next meeting. Nick left the room full of youthful energy and hungry for more. They were engaged in intimacy 3 times that day, but it was only for the 3rd time that she managed to reach the highest point, and then thanks to her own efforts. After getting dressed, they went to dinner. The dinner was an awkward small talk, and there was no physical or emotional connection between them. The magic she had once felt seemed to have disappeared. After the feast, they decided to dance, but it was more like dancing with a relative than with a romantic partner. The once strong physical attraction she felt for Nick seemed to have evaporated. Despite Nick's desire to return to the room, she continued to order more and more drinks, prolonging the evening until they both got drunk and began to struggle their way back. When she got to their room, she hurriedly undressed, popped down on the bed, turned her back on Nick, and fell asleep. The next morning, Nick was still sound asleep. She woke up with a headache, her body aching from what she had experienced the day before. Nick's snoring filled the room, reminding her of the decisions she had made over the weekend that she regretted. Despite the consequences, she decided to make one last attempt to have an unforgettable intimate meeting with a young man. She hesitantly tried to wake Nick up with morning caresses, hoping to arouse desire in the bedroom. Suddenly, he woke up. She wiped her mouth and, turning to him, asked, "Did you like it, kid?" When she bent down to kiss him, he pulled away and said, "No way. Go clean yourself up and brush your teeth before you continue." Disgusted, she grabbed the phone and disappeared into the bathroom, closing the door behind her. She turned on the shower and lathered herself vigorously, as if trying to get rid of some invisible threat. After drying off, she sat on the toilet and checked her phone to see if Billy had answered her messages. When she got no answer, she called him and immediately went to voicemail. Disappointed, she sent a final message. "Billy, I love you. Are you all right? Please reassure me that you're okay, and we can move on. This situation has become an unfortunate mistake, and my heart belongs to you forever. I will return home as soon as possible to hug you and express my love for you. Please confirm that you are all right." After persuading Nick to join her for breakfast, she confessed, "Nick, I made a mistake. Now I understand that my love belongs only to my husband, and this weekend with you showed me that no one can compare with him in my eyes. I'm going back to the room. I need to pack my things and leave immediately. I'll call a taxi. I don't want to see you at dinners or social gatherings anymore, and I'd rather we avoid each other at work as well. I'm sorry, but it was a huge mistake. Molly, you wanted it so badly, and you convinced me to go along with it. So go back to your husband and try to forget how wonderful we had a great time together. There are plenty of women in the world who are more attractive than you and would love to be with me," he said with a grin. "Nick, you are inexperienced and have no idea how to please a woman. It's time to face reality," Molly said incredulously. When she got to her room, she packed her things and left. Molly hailed a taxi and arrived home at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. To her surprise, the huge van that occupied half of the driveway was no longer there. Billy must have finally finished it, she thought. He probably took it for a test drive or a night tour. Disappointed that she was late for the first flight, Molly couldn't help feeling annoyed that he hadn't waited for her as she crossed the threshold of the house. A subtle change in the atmosphere caught her attention. The first thing she noticed was the absence of the oil painting of waves crashing on the bay of moonlight and incenses, which Uncle Billy had painted and which used to hang over the fireplace. Looking around the room, she noticed that other works were missing, including a sculpture of a bison by his uncle, which stood on the fireplace. A feeling of anxiety gripped her, and she called Billy, doubting that he was rearranging the work. Despite the emptiness in the house, she couldn't help but voice her concern out loud. Checking her phone again, she noticed that Billy still hadn't answered any of her messages. In a panic, she dialed his number, but heard an automatic voice informing her that the number was no longer in service. A scream escaped her lips, and she collapsed to the floor in disbelief. "My God, what have I done?" she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "Billy, how could you leave me like this?" Gathering her strength, she wiped away her tears and headed for the kitchen. Thoughts of what could have happened to him flashed through her head. On her knees, she couldn't help but notice Billy's engagement ring lying on a letter in her wedding album. Sinking into a nearby chair, she carefully took the ring, and her heart ached with confusion and disbelief. With trembling hands, she opened the letter, and tears streamed down her face as she tried to make out the words. "Molly, this is my last goodbye to you," the letter said. "I may be a coward, but I couldn't look you in the eye after you dumped me. I found your rings on your dresser and knew it was over. You left our marriage with the perfect symbol, taking off your wedding ring. You knew that wearing it meant admitting your infidelity, and you weren't ready to give up a free weekend. You seemed to believe that you could cheat on me and get back into our marriage as if nothing had changed. I can't understand how you think it's acceptable to break our vow, humiliate and disrespect me, and treat our marriage like it doesn't mean anything. A seemingly innocent weekend fling that shouldn't have affected my feelings for you became everything. She made me realize that your love for me, if it existed at all, was far from matching the depth of my love for you." Molly reread Billy's farewell several times, not believing that this was actually happening. As she read the words Billy had written, she noticed his tear-stained sheets, a painful reminder of the damage she had caused. "The sight of the ruined wedding album didn't match what I deserved and what I foolishly believed in. You've hurt me more than anyone else. You tore my love out of my heart and trampled on it. The betrayal began long before the physical act. When you started flirting with your lover during lunch, you crossed a line of infidelity. When you started kissing him during fun parties and dinners, considering it acceptable, you dealt the final blow to our love. When you decided that I would not object to your intimate relationship, how could you think that you deserved this and that I would give you permission if I really love you? I tried to lead you away from this precarious path, but you chose to ignore me, I warned you that our relationship would never be the same, but you rejected me as an immature and unreasonably harsh person. I had a heart-to-heart talk with you and expressed my desire to end this affair over the weekend to focus on saving our marriage through counseling. But you dismissed my concerns. I made it clear that our passionate night together would be the last if you continued your affair over the weekend. But you ignored my feelings and expected me to support you no matter what. I don't understand how you could even believe that this situation would suit me. It seems like you didn't fully understand me, just like I didn't fully understand you because I trusted you. I never imagined that you could put me down like that. I could have physically fought back, but I knew that this would only lead to resentment and the gradual destruction of our marriage. I saw that you thought it was just a one-time prank. Now you've unleashed a dangerous force. If love is proved unsatisfactory, how long will it take before you find another temptation to satisfy your desires? And if it has brought satisfaction, how soon will you begin to crave it again? You probably won't disclose future cases of cheating, especially considering the current situation we're in. But I was sure that there would be more such cases, and that your infidelity would continue. It looks like we'll never know about it. I can't imagine a relationship without trust, and now my trust in you has been destroyed. I will never be able to bring myself to love you again, constantly doubting whether you were thinking about me or someone else during our intimacy. The moment you left, you destroyed all the love, respect, and trust that once existed between us. You betrayed our friendship and destroyed it irrevocably. I will never be able to forgive you for the pain you caused me, and I can no longer trust you and consider you a friend. Just as you ripped my love out of my chest, so I have to completely cut you out of my life. I have taken care of practical matters, including the division of our property and the payment of the mortgage over the next 2 months. Your share of 50% of our joint accounts is indicated in the check that is in this envelope. I also canceled our joint account and insurance to move on. You will need to negotiate your own accounts. I canceled our joint credit cards, so you'll have to get your own. In addition, I took my name off the mortgage and signed an agreement to transfer the house to your name. Whether you decide to sell the house or continue to live in it depends on you, because it doesn't matter to me anymore. I also sold my car and drove away in a van, moving away from the life we once shared. I want to be honest with you because I know it will affect both of us in the future. I planned upon your wedding rings in exchange for gas money because it seems to me that they could serve me well and help me move on. It's not an easy choice for me to make, but I hope you can understand the pain and disappointment that led me to this. I took drastic measures to symbolize the end of our life and love. I ruined our wedding album and burned parts of the photos in the fireplace. I also sent emails to our friends, relatives, colleagues, and acquaintances, informing them of your infidelity and my decision to leave you. You have time to tell your version of events before the truth comes out. You can start a new chapter in your life by confessing your actions. It will be a plus for you that I give you the green light for any romantic or sexual relationship you wish to study. Whatever you want, although I hope you stay away from married men since you've already done enough damage. Follow your own path to find what made you reject our relationship. It's old news. You have my blessing to divorce, sell your house, move in, or do whatever your heart desires. I don't care what choice you make, and I'll leave everything in your hands. If I'm lucky enough to find a woman who really loves me the way I deserve, then maybe I'll consider a divorce. I have decided to quit my job and withdraw my assets at the moment. My only plan is to never see you again and turn left when I leave this place. Besides, I think I'll start all over again and try to leave a memory of you. Molly reread Billy's farewell several times, not believing that this was actually happening. As she read the words Billy had written, she noticed his tear-stained sheets, a painful reminder of the damage she had caused. The sight of the ruined wedding album made her feel sick, and she tried her best not to faint. What have I done? She thought, filled with self-pity and self-loathing. How could she be so selfish and stupid as to give up the love of her life for a senseless affair with a man who didn't care about her? Molly collapsed onto the couch in the living room, overcome with guilt and despair, desperately wanting to turn back time. She curled up, tears streaming down her face, crying herself to sleep. The realization that she was stubborn and fixated on fulfilling her desires for a new sexual partner hit her hard. She ignored all of Billy's warnings and ultimatums, resulting in her life being ruined within weeks. The consequences of her betrayal will haunt her for the rest of her days. Meanwhile, Billy made a spontaneous decision to drive along the banks of the Mississippi River, starting from Minneapolis-St. Paul and heading to New Orleans. The endless hours behind the wheel only fueled his thoughts about Molly and whether he had made the right choice. But he knew he needed time before making any decisions. At the moment, he couldn't even imagine the idea of being friends, let alone life partners. If he could let go of his anger and get to the point where being with her was more important than being apart, maybe he would consider contacting her. But he doubted it would happen. The road ahead would be long and uncertain. Finding herself in a heartbreaking situation, Molly was forced to experience humiliation and torment, justifying her rational decision to have sexual intercourse in front of her loved ones. She knew that none of them would be able to understand her actions or support her in any way. When she tried to justify herself, she realized that she was no longer able to understand even her own reasoning, let alone explain it to others. She had to admit the harsh truth that the affair would have consequences. She had to admit how naively she had convinced herself that this would not affect their relationship. Now she had to come to terms with the horrifying realization that her act had ruined her marriage and destroyed the only love she had ever known. Realizing the extent of her narcissistic self-centeredness and stupidity, she knew she had to take responsibility for her actions and for how they affected Billy and herself. The fact that she had lost the respect of her family and friends was obvious, as they had distanced themselves from her, wanting to make amends. Molly contacted Billy's best friend Tom and asked him to give her information about Billy's location or his contact details. Molly begged him to give Billy her message of love and remorse, finally acknowledging and taking responsibility for her infidelity in their marriage. The woman was ready to do anything to restore relations with him. She wanted to express her love and longing for him. She confessed her sins and was determined to change everything. Molly promised to fulfill their marriage vows and remain faithful to him. But even with all her efforts, she didn't get an answer from him. The woman stopped communicating with him and focused solely on work and home, hoping that he would eventually return to her. She remained faithful to their relationship and patiently waited for its restoration. One day, about 6 months after what happened to Nick, a terrible incident occurred. He was beaten when he was returning from a nightclub in a drunken state. Molly and Billy reflected on the events that had happened, not understanding how they could believe that everything would be fine for years had passed, and Molly still hoped that Billy would come back, but he never did. One fateful morning, when Molly was about to leave for work, a man approached her and asked about her identity. After confirming her name, he handed her an envelope that read, "You have been served." Without shedding a tear or showing any emotion, Molly just stood there and, with a slight grin, said goodbye to her marriage forever. 7 years after breaking up with Molly, Billy was enjoying life with his beautiful wife, who was 5 years younger than him, and gave birth to a healthy son, who was born a week ago. Billy was happy to become a father. He couldn't get enough of the fact that his life had found happiness and love. As for Molly, her life had changed. She married a wealthy man who dreamed of an heir, but Molly could not bear a child. For the second time, Molly suffered a miscarriage, and her husband Max warned her that if she was unable to give birth to an heir, he would abandon her. After giving Molly another chance to get pregnant and have a baby, he waited patiently. Molly was desperate. She maintained a healthy lifestyle, played sports, and when she got pregnant for the third time, their happiness knew no bounds. But this happiness did not last long. In the third month of pregnancy, Molly miscarried again. A month later, Max and Molly divorced. Apparently, Molly didn't deserve the happiness of being a mother. It's up to you to decide, karma or fate.